On December 30th, 1995, a partially decayed skull was found rotting away in the belly of a gutted dog. It belonged to a Winston Gibb Astra, America's greatest uncelebrated performance artist. He was never photographed. None of his works were ever visually documented. All of his artistic pieces were burned during his performances. He died mysteriously, alone, hungry, and penniless. All that remains are the fading memories of the precious few that knew him. Unfortunately, this is not always enough to express the true genius of a man trapped and destroyed by his own passion. This is not always enough. Gibb was born and baptized Winston Thomas Astra in Maple, Illinois during the winter solstice of '67. His father, Clifton, was a laborer who specialized in making plastic feet for children's shoes. Barbara Astra was a homemaker, a Tupperware saleslady, and devoted church member. She beat young Winston regularly with a sawed-off broom handle.
Winston was a very precocious child. He spent a great deal of time alone, drawing, writing, talking to himself. He was different. First day of classes, he stood up in front of the class and introduced himself as Winston Astra. But you can call me Mule Dick.
You always remember the troublemakers. They leave an unsavory taste in your mouth. Winston Astra, he was one right little bastard. Well, he was a troublemaker. He bit the class gerbil on a leg, drew an obscene picture of sheep on chalkboard during math lessons, called his math teacher an arithmetic Nazi, tore a picture of Mahatma Gandhi out of the school encyclopedia, tore a picture of a hippopotamus out of the school encyclopedia, made an obscene collage out of a stolen picture of Gandhi and the stolen picture of the hippopotamus.
Winston might have been a nightmare to teach, but deep down, he was a good kid. There's no such thing as a bad child. I don't believe that at all.
I know I should be more neutral in discussing a former student, and I assure you I would be normally, but you got a fine line. Humans on one side, animals on the other. He crossed that line. He was a first-timer kid. First time you see him, you know something's not right. Just had an animal aura about him. When you saw him, you knew he was an animal in the making.
He had this look of determination in his eyes that was actually quite peculiar for a boy of his age. One could look into his eyes and just be devoured by the intensity.
When Winston relieved himself in front of all the other kids during recess, drew a chalk outline, called it creation number 67, that was the last straw. Up to this point, we tried everything. Suspension, detention, conferencing, paddling. But that little animalistic act, that got him booed out on the sidewalk.
He drew me this before he left. He said it was his special dinky.
Well, I first met Gibb back in '85. I was parked on the corner eating a cracker, and he was walking down the street, and he was real hungry, and I only had this one cracker, and he said, "Hey man, do you think I could have a bite of that cracker?" And you know, I only had the one cracker, and I was real hungry, and I said, "Sorry man, I only got the one cracker, and I'm real hungry." And he started laughing, you know, real hard, and I And I started laughing real hard, and he started laughing again, and then I started laughing again, and while I was laughing, he hit me real hard, you know, and he ran off with my cracker, and I only had the one cracker, and I was real hungry. And,
Although he'd never admitted himself, it was this homoerotic, almost sadomasochistic relationship with this Maxwell that opened Gibb up to his first real artistic education.
Gibb was in his early phase, you know, and that, to me, that's the most interesting. He got this, just one day he got this idea. You know, he woke me up, he was telling me about it. He asked me, he just woke me up, he's like, Max, 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 you know, and he says, what is foul? Foul is taking a shit on a canvas, or taking a piss on a canvas, which, and anyone can take a piss on a canvas, and that's disgusting, but. Yeah, no. To actually, you know, take a shit on a canvas, to commit to it, you know? Just commit to the crouch and you're down with your center and on a white canvas. That's something. He was in a real weird phase back then.
Gibb had this sick fascination, this fetish with fire, with burning things. It was everything. It was his mode, it was his mean, his method, it was his muse. He loved it. It was everywhere in our lives. He even burned me once. I'll show it to you if you want to see it. It's no
have a seat. Just sit down. Chug down this whole bucket of paint that he had, you know, they'd already mixed around, and then run down the street and let it, you know, mix up in his system. Then he could somehow, you know, he could squat on the... Hey, shut up! You shut up! What the... I'm having an interview, all right? Delta! God damn it. And so Gibb's idea was that if he could somehow drink this entire bucket of paint that he had and then run down the street and let the colors all wash around and mix up in his stomach, then he could take a shit on the canvas and it would produce this new form, which he called digestive art. Now, I didn't tell him that drinking paint was... He almost died that day.
I was first introduced to Mr. Gibb after a gallery opening of Ira Baker's figurative clay work. It was quite an introduction, to say the least.
It was all about this red slipper. The loss of this red slipper made him crazy. He did crazy things. He acted like a crazy man with the crazy things he did. He would yell like crazy and scream like crazy at the top of his lungs, howling and screaming, "Where is my red slipper? Who has my red slipper? Where is my red slipper gone? Oh, for the love of God, where is my red slipper gone?" He was maniacal. Cute, but maniacal. Where's that dog?
나는 기붓을 매우 싫어하는데 그는 언제나 가게에 오면은 돌아다니면서 나쁜 짓.
And then he beat me. And he beat me, and then he made love to me, and then he beat me again, interspersing the love making with the beating and mating and love making. And when he had finished beating me, he noticed that the red slipper was still gone, and then he beat me some more. And then he made love to me again and beat me some more, beat me with a stick while making love to me, and beat me for the hell of it when he was finished. You see, because without that red slipper to beat me with, he felt incomplete in his beating of me.
He hated toilets. It was a passion for him, harboring this hate. He told me that toilets were a symbol of society's stranglehold on the intellect and mankind. He thought they were a way of putting a cap on revolution.
We walk into a restaurant, he'd fucking flip out if he saw a guy coming out of the bathroom. He carried around this little sledgehammer, you know, this little pickaxe. He would just systematically annihilate every urinal that he saw. And at a certain point, and I'm not really sure what sent him into this mindset, but he started getting real retrogressive, sort of retreating back into his childhood, you know, and trying all these different rebirthing techniques, you know, bathing in warm goat's blood, sleeping in the fetal position, sucking his thumb. He'd wear diapers a lot. He would sleep with his face pressed against a labia, you know. Labia? I'm guessing he was searching for some sort of primal creativity. What is the primal urge? You know what? What? Can you hear me? He was retreating back into his childhood, and to try to relive some of his most intense, impulsive experiences.
I remember walking out of Ira's show thoroughly invigorated and seeing Gibb crouching on the sidewalk, defecating.
They had these big furry bare feet, you know, like the slippers. Do you know what I mean? You know, because sometimes they're alligators and sometimes it's like a bear claw. You can have like feet of different. They're not real. You know, they're.
Well, my first instinct was to naturally vomit, but before I could do so, I noticed that he was carefully manipulating and maneuvering where the pieces fell. This was quite intriguing. After he'd completed his task, he drew a chalk outline around it, doused it with gasoline, and set it afire. The moment he started whistling Wagner, I knew there was something special about this man, and only I could represent him properly. His first show, Canine Crucifixion Series in Blue, it was a fucking smash.
Yeah, the whole dog crucifixion bit came out of Barracuda getting eaten by another dog. And Gibb was so pissed off about that, he went out in the street, and the first big dog he found, he crucified that fucker. You know, thorns and all. And he had two lesser dogs, which he crucified, you know, just below them, like little terrier spaniel types. It was nasty. The blue was just an afterthought, you know, because somehow that would justify crucifying a dog, you know, and blue was the only color he hadn't tried to drink at that point. It was my idea.
Any of his artwork? No, you don't have to reach your hand into the gutter to know what's down there. Kudos to whoever got to him first. On the behalf of the CBAASP, thank you. No. Is there something you want to ask me?
You know, you can let that slide anyway. He was a good artist, though. It's Wagner, whatever. Shit was good. Shit on the guy's face. That was pretty interesting. My favorite piece was when he painted himself blue and fingered himself in the butt in church. That was a little risque, but daring, and that's what I liked about him. He was daring.
Much of Gibb's Wagnerian juxtapositions came about from free-form discussions with Ira. He was taking a chance with Wagner, though. He didn't know that what little critics that were reviewing him would be so sickened by it. How could he know? He would sit with Ira on the balcony of Ira's high-rise apartment and discuss things in that free-form manner under hallucinogenic drugs. This, of course, was before Ira went stark raving mad.
Should I look at the camera or are you?
Just do whatever feels right.
Man, this here's a song that Gibb himself wrote for me on our first anniversary. It's called He Said My Cum Tastes Old.
All right, okay, first of all, you're gonna have to do a lot of pretending here. Okay, oh, all right. First of all, you're gonna have to pretend that this is paper. You're gonna have to pretend that this is a canvas, and well, that I'm Gibb.
Gibb had painted these enormous portraitures of Wagner in oil on black velvet. Black velvet. He would ask a fellow artist to defecate on them, and then he burns them in front of a crowd.
okay? You always believe in having an audience, and you're just gonna have to pretend that this is a guy. Take two and squat over it like this. And first, well, I'm gonna start whistling here in a second.
Wait. What are you talking about? You're not gonna do this, are you?
Well, yeah.
No.
No, it's my job, man.
The show was sensational. He whistled Wagner as the art burned. The Luna burned to the ground.
Gibb had nothing to do with the Luna tragedy. Investigation showed that faulty wiring was the culprit. Faulty wiring. Assholes.
Shit. Okay, first, you know, you're gonna have to, like, drink a 2-liter of, I think it's grape soda. And, you know, so the consistency is right, you know, so it's green. You know, like money. Yeah, I think that was the reason.
He was always lighting things. He was talking about how ash was pure, ash was of the earth. He could never understand my medium. He must have really hated it.
What's your medium?
I sculpt water. Anyway, once at the crematorium backstage, he set the band's instruments on fire. They were really pissed.
In the fashion of Warhol's New York factory, Gibb and his assorted crew of artists and followers held nightly orgies at the crematorium, an undisclosed vault accessible only through invitation. These few photographs were taken at risk by a hidden camera, and they show that in this one little room, some of the greatest artistic minds of the collective underground coexisted and mingled ideas and concepts.
He was gentle and rough. I have half of one of his Luna Wagner portraitures at home. I have the other half.
Wait, didn't he burn all these pieces?
Of course. Are you even familiar with his work? About as familiar as Heinrich.
And after his death, people would collect these ashes of his artwork and put them in these urns. So today, hundreds of people all over the world pay top dollar from me, who sells them, whore that I am, to have your own piece of fried feces in an urn.
Gibb was completely random. Take his name, for example.
That one came out of nowhere. He just marched in one day and said, Winston Thomas Ashra no longer exists. I am Gibb. I shall be called Gibb. Gibb is my name.
You interrupted me.
You're a writer. You ramble.
Huh. I never met Gibb personally. I don't know. Yeah, I admire his work, though. I mean, what he did. You know, of course, I never saw any of it because it was a real private kind of thing, and he generally set fire to all his shit. But you know, it was a joke. You get, yeah.
Yo no pienso que Winston fuese de esta manera porque él no permitía intimidad. Él simplemente no supo cómo obtenerla. Su madre la amaba, su padre la amaba. El problema era que él no entendía lo que la palabra o el sentimiento significaba. Nada nunca fue lo suficiente para él. La vida nunca fue lo suficiente. Él solía decirme que él pensaba que fuese embrujado por la solitud. De verdad que se sentía solo.
やっちゃうねんな。何やってることよくわからへんし。何やってんだよ。Give.
Él pensaba que la actuación le proveería la emoción que él no tenía. La gente tiene esos problemas. Winston fue una persona. Y esto él no lo comprendía.
And so, as quickly as he'd come into this world, Gibb left it. His passion to live and to experience art had truly burned him from the inside out, and he was finally able to become the very Ash that was so much a part of his life.